A lot of things happening in the world of wrestling this week, Jim. Let's start talking about them, and we have a lot to catch up on. And we have another experience to record in just a few days. So there's a lot going on. Let's start with the really, really sad news here as we start the show. Matt Hardy is still wrestling.
Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, we hate to have to bring that to you, folks. What the?
And he's better at that than he is at Twitter.
Let me just explain. So I have trended on Twitter again nonstop for like the past 2 days while I was taking Stacy to her back doctor appointment and seeing whether she needed another MRI. And I was out in the yard trying to get some work done in between these rainstorms, and I vigorously rubbing Harley's belly, as well as trying to run our various business enterprises. And I don't know whether it's the Hardy faithful and the AEW faithful and just the people with no lives have continued to make me and you, Brian, both of us trend. At one point, we were both trending, and you were trending more than I was trending, you trendy McTrenderson.
At one point, apparently, I've been sent all these screen caps. I was the #1 trending item in sports. At one point, it was me and Pete Alonso from the Mets, so that made me happy. At another point, it was me and Eddie Murphy from Long Island, so that made me happy. 2 Long Island guys, Nassau County.
They kept us alive while we, basically went about our business, and we want to thank everyone for the extra added exposure of not only us as prominent people, but yourselves as complete morons.
You know what kind of upset me? It was all happening, and as it was happening, we started getting these comments. I can't wait to hear about this. And I'm like, fuck, we still have an episode to drop before we can even record the episode to talk about this.
Well, and for the people who have been living under the proverbial rock, or who are lucky enough not to be on Twitter at all this emanated from Matt Hardy. Apparently, I guess it was late at night. Does Matt drunk tweet? Everything was spelled approximately correctly. There was some questionable, grammar, but that would be normal. But he has to, late at night on a Saturday or Sunday night or whatever it was on a weekend, get on Twitter. And he's, remember, folks, a grown man, nearly 50 years old, telling people that they should give his other grown adult friends, grown adult males, supposed professional athletes, their flowers. They don't praise Kenny and Maddie and Nikki enough. They should give them their flowers. Now, this is a quote, and don't worry, we're going to quote everything, folks. If you want to hear this exchange, we're going to be reading it. But he wanted to give his friends, their flowers now, and it's only because of haters and the toxic Cornette cultists that everybody in the world doesn't love and get all furry and fuzzy over everything that my friends who also employ me,
bingo,
and pay me,
bingo,
do. And it's just that it can't be legitimately because anybody in the world would ever just say, no, these guys are the shits. I don't like their wrestling. I think they're silly, phony, fucking childish cretins. No, it's because you and I, Brian, basically you and I, because I don't think the cult of Cornette being toxic, poisonous, I know what he's saying. He's saying there that we're just toxic and poisonous, and we have toxic, poisonous listeners. And that's the only reason that anybody in the world could possibly dislike my friends. So give them flowers.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's one thing coming after you or even, an idiot like me.
It's one thing coming from a 14-year-old girl. Give my friend some flowers.
But he's going after the listeners because it's their fault that they don't think the way he does, that they're not soft in the head. Now, he says the listeners are toxic. I'll take him at his word. Whether it's chemical or behavioral toxicity, he seems to be quite the expert in toxic. But that's the thing. It wasn't even about me and you. He came after the listeners.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. He doesn't want to tag us, as the kids say. He didn't want to mention this. He just wants to knock our fans and our listeners. He didn't.
No,
want to,
but he doesn't even want to do that because he is a fucking listener. Let's be very honest about it. He's a member of the cult of Cornette. He wants to get the points for knocking the listeners.
Yes.
He's using our listeners as a tool, treating them like shit.
To suck up to the EVPs.
That's right. That's right.
And he thought that if he didn't put our names in there, that he just said the toxic. But of course, immediately, anybody who says, "What the fuck are you doing, Matt Hardy?" informs us and spreads the word around about how they're being called toxic and poisonous and etc. And so I merely responded to him and went to fucking bed. And then he apparently, because you stay up later than I do, Brian, because you're not only busier with all of the technical empire that you've got up there, but you're a younger person with children. So you're up past 8:30, 8:45.
I was working on my quarterly taxes. Well, there you know what I was doing.
And so he continues to, now he's just all fired up. And this goes into the wee hours with him now arguing with you, still claiming that he's somehow in the right for telling our fans that they're poisonous. And then the whole floodgates open up of people who can spell all the words right and who use some punctuation and who have a grasp on the comment that they're trying to make and express themselves in sometimes sarcastic, sometimes witty, sometimes deep manners. And then you have the others that I don't know what the fuck they're doing or what they're on, but they're clearly on the other side of that. And they've all just lost their minds over it. And
it wasn't that big I mean, the crowd on our side seemed to be quite significantly larger than the people defending Matt Hardy.
But see, the thing is, the accounts are about the same, because if you look at the people going, there's something wrong with Matt Hardy and what the fuck is he doing? Well, they're normal people with normal profiles or a significant number of followers or following people or whatever. And everybody else that wants to say, well, one of the or two of the tweets we'll read, but everybody wants to say Cornette and last. They've got 0 followers. They follow 7 people, or there's a picture of some generic person that they pulled off of fucking Getty Images or whatever the case may be. So I think that the account numbers, it's pretty 50-50, but the actual people behind them, I think it's 95-5.
You know, and the other thing is he used the audience. He was using the audience and trying to put down the audience. But the truth of the matter is, Matt Hardy is upset that even you can't pretend that his shit is good anymore.
That's the problem.
The problem is that we come on here and honestly talk about what we think of what we watch. And it has been impossible to see Matt Hardy. Let's just go back to the first moment he was in AEW, because that's like the last 4 years or so. It's been impossible to see that and think any of it's good. Either the performances in the ring, either the craptastic performances on the mic, the concussions.
Well, and let's be fair, the way he's been booked also, which may or may not be his fault, or he may or may not have contributed to, because that's up in the air. Tony's also probably had a big hand in that, but how many times have they damaged his brain and couldn't figure out how to put the Hardy Boys back together? And this is the thing we've never said. The Hardy Boys aren't a draw. We said they aren't a draw now because of the way they've been put back together. I booked Matt and Jeff Hardy and Smoky Mountain Wrestling when they were teenagers. I booked them on goddamn WWF TV tapings to do jobs when they were teenagers. I used them in OVW. I booked Matt to come back to Ring of Honor in 2012, I believe. There's been value in them, but it's ridiculous at this point. Not only the teleportation, the changing clothes in the ice machine, the fact that they're still trying to be the Hardy Boys when they're each almost 15 years older than the Rock and Roll Express were when they were in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And people say, I used the Rock and Roll when they were over the hill. The fuck? To the bad booking, to the fact that they literally, factually, demonstrably gave him brain damage and allowed the thing to go on. In that whatever kind of arena match they were having, whatever they called it, when he got speared off the fucking forklift and could walk for 3 minutes, and they let that go on. And then, wasn't it then the next week, or was it the week before that, the Sammy Guevara hocked a chair in his face and busted him from asshole to appetite?
Oh, I forgot about that one, actually.
Yes. So the point is, this is the company he's taken up for. And the only thing we've said is that goddamn Matt should be ashamed of himself for the past few years for changing clothes in ice machines and teleportation and trying to do all this shit that he can't fucking do, instead of trying to be a force for good and logic as a veteran, saying, don't do this stupid shit, you're going to kill yourself. And then when his brother comes in after all those chances and they botch reuniting them so that they don't draw any money and they've put them in a meaningless position.
I also think his work sucks. And again,
well, it does now.
We're talking about AEW, but remember, before that, all of a sudden this broken, woken, bullshit fucking stuff shot at his house. That was one of the turning points. All of a sudden, Impact, which had just completely given up, and that has continued to this day, apparently, started letting him do that. They turned it over to this Adult Swim kind of stuff. There's an audience for that. There is a relatively small audience, but an audience that likes that. But it wasn't good to a lot of other people, and he's worse today than he was then.
So the point is, Matt had a meltdown on Twitter until late in the night, and then it became, and which you primarily carried the banner for our side on, because I was asleep. And then a bunch of people picked up on it. We all trended for a couple of days. Would you, going back again to the original, because I didn't even see anything until I saw the tweet that said, oh, the cult of Cornette is toxic. But it was, the origination of that was him trying to say that some match was great when other people were saying, no, it wasn't great. And we need to give the kids their flowers. So can you bring the people up in chronological order on this chain of events?
Yes, Matt Hardy, best known for standing on the apron, wrote this on July 7th. Dark Order versus the Elite was a fantastic match. It's nice to see Dark Order earn such a well-deserved spotlight. Hashtag AEW Rampage. The Young Bucks and Adam Page are extraordinary talents that will unfortunately get their flowers way later than they should.
You know, Big Mama's used to be right on the spot with delivering those flowers. Big Mama's Flower Shop in Charlotte. But now I guess she's got so much business, it takes a while to get the flowers out there.
And let me just say before we get into all the back and forth, because I think he's such a goof, but I also do feel bad and sympathize for his situation. And like a tweet like this spells it out. Like, these are likely his last years of earning income, if we really just want to put it out there. And he's trying to hold on, and by doing so, he's trying to latch onto these fucking guys. And that's why you get out of nowhere tweets begging people to accept the people that he's latched onto. So he tweeted that out. Then someone named...
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with, I mean, it was a patronizing tweet, but he works for the company. He's praising the talents. There's nothing wrong with what he just said. And obviously, since nothing was mentioned about us, I would not have had anything to say about it.
So someone named Ryan quote tweeted him saying, Matt's right though. I know it's cool to hate on the Bucks and Hangman if you're a Punk Collision fan, but not for me. Give those guys their flowers.
More flowers. You know, and by the way, I would love to give those guys, I'd buy them the whole flower shop. Big banners across them. Rest in peace. I'd love that.
Should the Bucks come out to You Don't Bring Me Flowers?
Do you know? Brian, last you're in the music business. Neil Diamond and Barbra Streisand, right? 1978 or 9?
I believe so.
Am I correct?
I think I'm not one of the records I buy, but yes.
Do you know how that duet originated?
No, tell me.
A DJ here in Louisville. Both Barbra Streisand and Neil Diamond had recorded that song, and he did, what do the kids call it? The mashup, the mix-up? He put them together in the studio, and they got so many requests, people went apeshit over the thing, that it actually got back to the record company, and they did it. How about that?
Wow, I had no idea about the history of that song.
Go look it up sometime in your little black book. But anyway.
It'll be in my book. It certainly won't be in my record collection. But Matt Hardy quote tweeted Ryan saying, between this and the toxic Cornette cult, these guys don't get the adoration that they truly deserve. The die-hard elite fans are phenomenal and get why they're special. But there's a huge chunk of fans that fail to give them the credit they deserve. Give these guys their flowers.
What? The flowers.
Is he high? What the fuck is he talking about?
I don't know. Is he burning the flowers? Again.
Not the vape. Give them the flower. Hint, hint.
You can fucking verbally fillet these guys all you want if you don't knock our listeners and say the cult of Cornette is so toxic because we don't think that these guys are worth a shit. I'm sorry. It's a terrible thing that everybody in the world doesn't like your fucking friends that pay you. But there's no reason to call all of our listeners toxic because they don't like play wrestling. So that's when I was alerted to this, when I checked it on Twitter at whatever point that was. And I merely responded to Matt in a fairly respectful manner for me.
Oh, would you like me to read that one too?
I would like, because you got them in front of you. I don't know how to pull all this shit up.
Geez, Matt, I can understand selling your soul for rock and roll, but selling it for Adderall? Even if you have to abandon your principles and verbally fillet these childish cretins for your check, leave my fans alone. It's not their fault Tony's not paying them enough to lie.
And that was my comment, and I've left it there. It's don't bring our people into this fucking thing. And that's where I left it. And then apparently, Matt could not go to bed. He couldn't go to sleep. He couldn't leave it alone.
He knew what was waiting in the bedroom.
Oh, now, come on now.
That's what he said. That's what he said at the end.
Well, I know you're dramatic foreshadowing. But at the same time, some people said, was it Rebbe that had his phone? Because you couldn't believe it. He's going to go on and argue this all fucking night, right? But people could believe she would because she does sometimes.
No, we did hear that from a lot of people. And to be honest, I'm not too familiar with her prose, so I could figure out if the writing style is hers or not, but it doesn't matter. Shut up, turn off your phone. Don't try to go back and forth. You're not going to win. So, after you were off the computer, which I knew, Matt Hardy responded, Geez, Jim, I haven't sold my soul. I'm sticking to my principles and telling truths. I feel morally obligated to do right by my friends, although that's probably foreign to you. I earn a check because I'm great at what I do and still employable. Keep on seeding dissension amongst fans with your shtick. It's too sweet.
See, and again, is still employable not a synonym for needs work? And also, is if I am 82 years old and I'm sitting under my dogwood tree petting Harley the Fourth, are people going to go, boy, it's a shame nobody will give him a job? What the fuck? Again, Matt tries to do the shock jock thing because that's verbiage from Maddie and Nikki. his doppelgangers.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
I grew up in New York. I grew up with Howard Stern. My father liked Imus, Opie and Anthony when they hit, sports talk radio, all this shit. Whether it's Matt Hardy and where's he from, North Carolina? Or the Bucks in California? Shut the fuck up about shock jocks. You guys don't know anything about shock jocks, you idiots.
Well, but in this case, it's a synonym, a kayfabe term for truth teller. Yeah, all those people are telling the truth about my friends. They all want to be shocking. No, we just want to get your fucking friends off our television.
But you see, this is part of the bigger problem, which is that, and I posted something about this on the Cult of Cornette Facebook group. If you talk to people in wrestling, and if you talk to wrestling media personalities or whatever the fuck everyone is, you get real stuff. You get real talk. You get gossip. You get real opinions, real thoughts. A lot of these people, when they get on the air, those opinions and thoughts are gone. They're not going to say what they really think, and you understand why. They don't want to upset people, or maybe they want to edge their way into a job one day for one of the companies. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that out there. We don't do that because we're happy doing this.
I've already done that, and you don't want to do it.
That's it. This is what we're doing. And the idea that unless you're doing a wrestling version of the Drew Barrymore show, where you hold the guests' hands and you kiss them and you tell them how much you love them, that you're negative or this and that. No, we're honest. We're honest. I love late night TV. I love David Letterman. I thought Craig Ferguson was the last great late night talk show host. Conan, Tapes of Cavett, and Carson. I love all this stuff. I can say Jimmy Fallon sucks. And I'm allowed to say I am happy James Corden returned to England because he sucked too. You can appreciate good stuff and point your finger and say it about the bad stuff. And again, a lot of the things that people get upset about that we talk about, everyone in the fucking business talks about.
Of course.
They're just not prepared to go on the record saying it. I'm not looking to be friends with wrestlers. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, I responded to Matt Hardy because I knew you weren't on the computer. And again, he's attacking the listeners and he's saying that we're seeding dissension. So I wrote, he thinks he's great at what he does because he said he's still great at what he does. We've all been watching. His promos suck. His in-ring work is shit. And the only thing anyone has ever been interested in him doing is tagging in his brother. Jim telling the truth is, quote, seeding dissension? How many concussions is too many? And Matt Hardy responded to me, I'm great at what I do, Brian Least. I'm great at pro wrestling. I'm great at giving back and helping young talent. You're just some asshole with an opinion. And that opinion doesn't mean shit in reality. But most importantly, just an asshole. By the way, you seem to care a lot about this asshole's opinion, buddy boy. So I responded, because again, he's arguing over how great he is.
But I know now you've got him hopping up and down like one of the Rock and Roll Express fans in 1986.
And again, now the defense is he's arguing his greatness. He's arguing his greatness with the great Brian Last.
And the reason why he's so great, that proves that our fans are poisonous.
So I wrote, you've been a great enabler, but you know your crap has sucked for years. And that's Mr. Asshole to you.
Yeah.
Toxic.
I think we should start a company called Toxic.
That's good. Toxic Wrestling.
No, just Toxic. We could poison everything.
Well, no, let's not say that. That's not funny. We don't want to poison things.
Well, no, we're toxic. That's what non-toxic means. A kid can stick it in his mouth, right? Well, toxic. We're going to market this shit as your kids can't stick it in their mouths.
Well, can we market the toxicity that it's self-contained, it won't be spread?
No, what's the good of toxicity if you can't spread it?
People may not want it.
Well, they're going to get it.
Well, let's go back to toxic Matt Hardy here. Another shitty joke. Must be your forte, Least. My shit's good. Your shit is shit. You toxic bitch-ass asshole. That's a first. I have not seen that combination of words.
You're
there.
A toxic bitch-ass asshole.
Yeah, toxic.
Oh, God damn it. Are the Hardys up there in the Hall of Fame yet? If as soon as they get put in one day, then you can say that a Hall of Famer has called you a toxic bitch-ass asshole.
Yeah, which Hall of Fame is that? The Sackler Family Hall of Fame? But let me go back to the tweets here. I said, are you trying to convince yourself? Your work is shit. Stay home. No one will care. You seem much more toxic than I am, with a track record to back it up. I'm better at what I do than you are at whatever it is you are still trying to do. And it's signed, Mr. Asshole, to you.
You know, and you got him with a point there, because you are better at what you are currently doing than he is at what he is currently doing.
That wasn't a joke or anything. I'm very, very serious.
No, because this is the #1 wrestling podcast in the genre of wrestling podcasts. And he is a wrestler, and he is not the #1 wrestler in the genre of wrestlers. So that's pretty cut and dry.
That's right. And more people care about what we're talking about here on the show. More people want to listen to it than will tune in to see Matt Hardy. And that's a fact, too.
Actually, most of the time, by the time we get finished with all the various feeds, more people tune in to hear what we have to say than see the show that he's on.
Well, let's go back to the Hardy compound. Don't have to convince myself. My live reactions, paycheck, and appearance fees solidify I'm good. I don't know shit about you, nor care to. So keep doing what you're good at, you goofy bitch-ass asshole.
Now, is that 2 times you were a bitch-ass asshole?
Well, this time goofy, too.
But at least not toxic.
I'll do the same, and you can continue to whine and cry about it like a baby. So I responded, how dare you? You're way goofier than me. You understand that you are the one whining and crying, right? Can you still comprehend that much? Once again, you seem quite toxic, all in caps. Is everything okay? He wrote...
What time is this?
Well, you know what? Now that I look at it, these screen caps may be from a different time zone. It says 5:11 a.m. It couldn't have been 5:11 a.m.
You weren't still up there.
I don't think so. I work late into the night, but at a certain point, I'm not doing anything that late. But let me go. This is now the longest tweet he sent out. Me stating that you two constantly fuel a toxic culture isn't whining. It's just hard truths. You constantly moaning and bitching about me wrestling is whining and crying. Can you discern that? Or are you a mooncalf? I'm great, by the way. Just did a huge con in Tennessee.
Great, by the way. Wait a minute. I'm great, by the way.
By the way, he said he doesn't care about my opinion. He says he doesn't listen. You constantly moaning and bitching about me wrestling. Yeah, you listen, you fucking dope. And we know it. Dope. But anyway, I'm great, by the way. Just did a huge con in Tennessee. Have 4 beautiful kids. Financially set for life. Still get to live my dream. Have major respect within my industry. If I say so myself. Am considered a living legend. Been a huge contributor to pro wrestling, and no rando from the internet's opinion is going to change any of this.
And by the way, he pays for the deal where you can just tweet as long as you want to tweet, right?
Either he pays for it or he was grandfathered in. We don't know for sure. But
okay, but one way or another, because that's how this is so voluminous here.
Especially not an egotistical asshole like Brian Least. Congrats on the podcast. It'll be a great way to be remembered in history. Enough of this silly-ass cyber convo. It's time to go crawl on top of my hot-ass wife.
Oh, he actually, and this is a quote, right?
No, he literally wrote everything I just said. Yeah, and by the way, I will be very happy within wrestling to be remembered for the rest of history as being behind this show. Absolutely, 100%. We're the biggest thing ever. Don't ever forget that. And it's only getting bigger. But anyway.
And it's even got a vein on it now.
But anyway, he left it with, he's going to go crawl on top of his wife. Now, I didn't see this, I don't think, until the next morning. But I wrote back, are you crying again? We call the bad shit bad. We call the good shit good. You wouldn't be whining if you had produced anything in the last several years that we could have said anything good about. However, as you know, your work is shit. Have you thought about talking to someone? And at this point, many of the listeners started sending him links to BetterHelp.
And so, obviously, when I got back on Twitter, Did I answer him one more time? Did I say one more thing to him?
You did, because you didn't know any of this had happened.
That's right. So, because the next day, I'm like, what in the flying fuck is going on here?
So the next morning, you retweeted one of Matt's claims of how spectacular his life is because he did a convention in Tennessee.
It was Fanboy Expo, by the way. Remember a few years ago, I told the story about Dave?
Dave, I remember that.
Couldn't help me find the fucking hotel I was supposed to be at, and his cohort, Tony Hunter, that moron. Go ahead.
But you tweeted out, I'd like to thank Great Brian Last for staying up into the night toying with this concussed ex-great while he was protesting too much about how successful he is. I go to sleep too early on Saturday nights to have time to play with kids. Golly, Matt. Don't you have signings to do? And he responded to you.
And by the way, and I was incorrect. It was Sunday night. That was the night before. I wrote Saturday because, hey, every day's a weekend to me.
Last night was Sunday, Jimmy. Maybe you're the concussed one. You're definitely an ex-great. I used to have massive respect for you, but that's been long gone. That's the case with many people now, and it's sad. This is my final tweet to you.
Thank you.
You and Least keep doing your shock jock routines and fanning those toxic flames of hate and negativity for your zombies to slurp up.
Said now they're zombies as well as poisonous, and they're slurpers.
Make those bucks however you can, though, right? I guess that's your philosophy, isn't it, Matt? Enjoy your life, Jim. I'll certainly enjoy mine.
And hopefully, I was about to say, hopefully he will live long enough to enjoy it if they don't keep damaging his brain over there in that company he's taking up for.
So I responded, I know it must upset you, but it's 2023, and the, quote, shock jocks matter more than you do. Do what you do best, and just tag in Jeff. You have certainly proven that you don't have the brain power for Twitter, let alone good promos, good angles, good matches, or walking straight.
Oh.
And I don't think he responded after that.
No, he didn't. And it was, a lot of people were saying a lot of bad things about poor Matt because of that display that he had to go through. And I'm sorry for that. But as well, I looked at my Twitter, and remember I said a bunch of these are just, they're obviously fake accounts because they have no profile, generic picture, single digit in followers or whatever the case. But there was actually some real people, and I felt just like I was back in 1986 messing with the Rock and Roll Express, only these were tweets instead of crayon postcards or whatever. But Brian, that's the thing is our fans, I guess they are toxic. We've heard they're poisonous. They're zombies. They eat flesh and slurp hatred. And, they can only aspire and hope and dream to be as refined and classy and dignified and tolerant and verbose and eloquent as the Hardy fans and the Hardy supporters out there that are obviously non-toxic, that obviously children can put these people in their mouths because they're not poisonous. And I got a bunch of them, but I retweeted a couple of specific ones because it was kind of indicative. But this person was even a little bit more, eloquent than most of the Hardy supporters who, as I mentioned, are non-toxic and very refined and eloquent and tolerant. Would you read a couple of those missives, please?
Yeah, I have a couple here. Jace, you're going to have to bleep a few things here, but I'm going to read it as it was.
Oh, wait, now, since we're not using this language, we're reporting language that was used to us. Is that still?
It could still cause a problem for certain words, yes.
So then read it slowly where the people will have time to mentally fill in the blanks on the beeps. Don't make the beeps too loud, Jason, really, so it doesn't shock them. So you'll get the full effect of what this, again, exceptionally tolerant and loving and caring and benevolent individual was saying about the toxic fans that we have and myself.
Yeah, we received a lot. We received a lot from the toxic Hardy fans, the toxic Elite fans, a lot more toxic than anything I've ever seen from the cult of Cornette. But it's hard for those people to accept.
As a matter of fact, this could be poisonous to your ears, folks. So anyway.
Well, this was tweeted out from Atasha Blevins at HardyFan24. And surprise, surprise, her image is her with Matt Hardy. I'd like for you two to go suck some more dick. Fuck both of you pieces of shit. Your moms should have swallowed your bitch asses. At least Matt Hardy's birth certificate wasn't an apology from the condom factory. I didn't even read this before. I didn't see that. Fuck you two yeast-infected cum bubbles. You're nobodies. And by you're nobody, Y-O-U-R.
Yeah.
You're nobodies.
Yeah. You're nobodies till somebody's loves you.
And here's another one from her. I bet that's why your last name is Cornette. Your mom used to suck cock that probably had corn on it after pulling it out of someone's ass. Sucked so many and swallowed so much, she named her dump after it. When you open your mouth, dicks fall out. Fuck you and your boyfriend, bitch.
But at least I'm not a bitch-ass asshole.
Fuck you and your boyfriend had an exclamation point. Bitch has nothing. It's just bitch on its own.
Just bitch and it trailed off. Yeah. And now there's an update on that. So many people, believe it or not, this woman, and I use the air quotes, this woman not only didn't delete her whole account, or I don't even think those tweets, but when people deluged her about what is mentally wrong with you and talking about what she had said, her final response, I think, the next day or whatever, well, I was just mad. I shouldn't have said those things, but I was mad. And then she sent out a tweet apologizing to me and you, Brian. Have you seen that one?
I actually had not seen that, no.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Well, I guess I shouldn't have said all that stuff, but I was mad, but I shouldn't speak that way.
Apology accepted.
I don't know. Have you seen the picture of her?
You know, let's just say a few things here. One, it's a popular thing to blame everything on Jim Cornette and now blame everything on his audience because his audience are just mindless people. They're zombies who can't think for themselves.
And there's so many of them. You know, goddamn, if The Walking Dead had had a cast like this, they could have fucking taken over the whole goddamn world.
Hey, listen, every single week, there are a lot more fans of these shows. Every single week, there are less people that care about Matt Hardy. There aren't any more new fans for Matt Hardy. This is it. This is the end. And he wants to blame us. He wants to blame us for giving honest thoughts about his work.
No, anyway, you know, it wasn't even his work. At first, it was his friends' work that didn't get their flowers.
No, but this, based on what he said, this
then
goes back...
Then the true thoughts came out.
Right. This goes back to the fact that his work has been shit for a very long time. And Matt Hardy is upset that we're just not going to do the Drew Barrymore type of wrestling programming that everyone else wants to do. And if you like that kind of stuff, go there. This is a show. These shows are built on honesty. We're honest with the listeners. I don't care what the wrestlers think or the promotions think. I care what the listeners think. And I'm not going to start hiding my true feelings about these guys because it'll upset people. I don't care. I'm not looking to be friends with them. I'd rather be able to give an honest assessment to the audience.
I wish I could say the same thing about I would love to still be friends with some of these people, but not at the cost of having to humor them when they have gone off the deep end, whether they're having matches with the Invisible Man or praising the Buckaroos or doing whatever the fuck it is they're doing with the teleportation and the space aliens or whatever the fuck. They have disappointed me. Therefore, I have to give my opinion. Because this is what I do. And very well, by the way.
No, and everyone, that's the thing. There's a soft fan base. And it's such a small fan base. We do need to point out, it's not even, like the Observer audience. It's a small portion of the Observer audience. Because we know, because a lot of them are listening to this. But there's a small group of them that are on the Observer message. Well, once again, they pay Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer so that they can go on a message board and hide and talk shit and say all sorts of slanderous things. They know they won't be sued. Dave and Brian will be sued. But we'll get to that at another point. Everyone wants to attack Jim Cornette and his fans. At some point in history, you guys want to talk about history? You guys are going to have to turn around and realize that you all missed this story. How big these shows are, and how big this audience is, and how many people agree with what Jim says, don't follow what he says.
You just hit it. The reason why is because all of these people are pissed the fuck off that these jack-offs have ruined the wrestling business. And at least they can get a kick, the same kind of entertainment they used to get out of good wrestling, by hearing us take the piss out of the bad wrestling. And it's easy to do because we don't have to make anything up. We can just relate what we see.
Yeah.
So therein lies the problem is, if you don't want us to not give you your flowers, then don't go out there and take a shit in the middle of the ring.
And don't attack the listeners. You got a problem with what we say? Yeah. Come to us. Don't out of nowhere attack the listeners because you're looking for points. You're running out of points.
I hate those fucking Madonna fans because I don't like her music. What the fuck? Just because, or vice versa. I hate those people that don't like my favorite singer because they don't like my favorite singer. Well, maybe because your favorite singer sucks.
The soft fan with weak takes, and some of them are just fans and some of them are in wrestling media, have a problem with anyone who doesn't toe that line, and then they act in the toxic manner that they accuse everyone else of acting in. How dare you say things? How dare you make fun of everyone? What? What? We can't make fun of things now? We can't make fun of things. Seriously, all the soft, weak-minded fans, all the people with the weak takes, all the people with a closet full of Young Bucks t-shirts, go fuck yourself.
They make fun of the wrestling business, so we make fun of them. It's tit for tat. Only we got bigger tits than they've got tats. See?
We have the biggest tits in wrestling podcasts.
Yeah, they're spectacular. And we like to make fun of stupid people doing stupid shit. And we're going to continue to do that for the other people who like. And let me ask you this. Brian, you're a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
Right? So isn't this human nature if some player made the team on the Mets this year, and every time he got an at-bat and swung at the ball, he lost his grip on the bat and it flew and beamed the fucking pitcher in the goddamn head every single time. After about 5 or 6 of those, wouldn't people start making fun of him?
It would happen after the first one, and after the second one, people would think something's going on. After the third one, it would be the biggest scandal in sports.
But it would be hard to do that on purpose, wouldn't it? It would have to be an accident. You couldn't nail the guy, but nevertheless, a lot of fans would be making some fucking fun out of him, right? What about old Titus O'Neil that entered the Royal Rumble head first under the ring? He's never lived that down, but guess what? That's human nature. So when you do stupid, silly, bad things, funny-looking things, whatever, people make fun of you. Get the fuck over it.
Oh my God, you made fun of Kenny. Well, guess what? So do his coworkers, and so do his friends, and so do the people that know him.
And so does everybody that sees that ridiculous cult Japanese bullshit of him wrestling sex toys and sticking his finger up other oiled men's naked assholes in the middle of a wrestling ring.
We just say it. Everyone else will say it on the phone. Everyone else will say it in text messages. Some people will hide on message boards and say it. We say it on the air. We're honest with the audience. Wrestling industry be damned.
Yeah, don't worry, it has been. I think the wrestling industry about 30 years ago kicked the fuck out of Maria Ospinskaya and got cursed. Oh, kicked her right in the fucking face. And she said, ooh, even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night will have to watch bad wrestling when the WWE takes over and Tony Khan convinces his father to put in a bunch of money to fucking fund his goddamn live action figure playset. It didn't rhyme as good as the original one did, but...
And the other, one last thing I want to point out, just a little bit of the hypocrisy. So many of the people who have a problem with you because of your rejection of, the Bucks...
Them.
The Bucks, Kenny, other people, whether it's them or people that someone is a fan of, these are the same people that never had a problem with you until your view diverged from theirs.
Yes.
And now they have a problem with you. If you came out a few years back and you were like, you know what? The Young Bucks are amazing. Kenny's amazing. All of those fans would love you, and all the fans that disagree with you wouldn't. They would still be there. They exist. But that's the point. There is a hypocrisy because Matt Hardy's mad at Jim Cornette because Jim Cornette's not going to say, Matt Hardy had a great match. By the way, he's not going to say that because he doesn't watch fucking Rampage or the pre-show. But he's not going to say that.
Do you know what I told Matt Hardy? I think, 2016, I think. It may have been 16 probably because I was busy in 17. I don't think I was dead. But I was in Spartanburg, one of the Legends, shows that the Hardys were on. And I think that's one that Dr. Tom was on, whatever the case. Anyway, Matt and Jeff were there. I think Jeff even came unannounced or whatever, but they did a thing where we were waiting to go on with, there was a Rock and Roll Express match. And Jeff had done some kind of thing where he became the Will-O-the-Wisp or whatever, his alter ego. And
weather the weather.
Yeah, and whatever, and they were saying, and somehow he was going to be a heel and fuck the other guy, but then come back. And I told Matt in the bathroom or the locker room, I said, Matt, were you doing some heel stuff? Well, Jeff wanted to do something, whatever. I told him, I said, look, you've got, between the two of y'all, you've got the business head, which I thought he did at that time. And I said, with y'all's names, this is the Carolinas, just North and South Carolina, maybe a little bit of Virginia, but up there you might get out of your comfort zone with the region. Everybody knows you here in the states of North and South Carolina. You need to start now. Start running your own shows. You can get publicity all over the place. Establish that you run in various places in the Carolinas, 6 big independent shows a year where all of your friends will come and work for. They won't rape you on the rates. I'm not saying have them do it for free, but they'll give you good deals. Your local and regional celebrities, you can get into the newspapers, the television stations, get publicity, radio. Start working on that now. And if you establish something like that, if Impact wants to come in the Carolinas, you can promote their big live event because you got the connections. You can make money as a promoter of your own shows or helping to promote other events for other companies that want to work with you. And you can establish relationships with some of the medium-sized buildings in the Carolinas to where if they're going to have wrestling, they will call you, say, this other group wants to fucking... These are the things that people don't understand about being in the wrestling business and running regular locations. The building will call you, hey, another wrestling promotion wants to run. You going to give me a show next few months? And I'll tell them no. Shit like that, right? And then he's got a part of the country sewed up where he doesn't have to travel far from home. He can promote fan fests, autograph sessions, and you can make 6 figures and not fucking be away from home, but maybe 10 nights a fucking year if you want. But instead, he's getting speared off fucking forklifts. So I've given up.
Yeah, well, that's that. And don't call our audience toxic, all right? Keep your brother off the road, keep your wife off the internet, and don't worry about our audience.
And it's Mr. Asshole and Mr. Toxic to you.
That's right. You're Mr. Toxic?
I'm Mr. Toxic if you're Mr. Asshole.
You want to trade?
How about the system of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather? That's an overlooked Alan Parsons Project classic.
Boy, I guess so.
You don't remember? I'd say it was on the Tales of Mystery and Imagination album.
I don't know that one, no.
Oh, it's fantastic. The whole side, actually. A Dream Within a Dream, A Cask of Amontillado, the system of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather. It's amazing. Amazing music.